Alrighty, good evening here from Sydney. It's 10 p.m. on a Saturday night. We're about to see another Crazyhouse World Championships Candidates match between Mastertan, my fellow Australian, Mastertan, the only Australian in the candidates. He's going to be taking on Sexy and I Know It. Both very strong players. Mastertan I've known for years. I've had the pleasure of meeting him as well on one occasion to play some Bug House. Yeah, he's been playing the game for years on Fix. Sexy and I Know It. I wonder if he's actually a player from Fix, and maybe I don't know, but he's been making a lot of progress with Theory on the side, I hear. Now, have a look here what we've got. We've got 23 to 8 on the paper if you look at Mastertan's record. So Mastertan would be the favourite, but this is the candidates. There's candidates pressure. Anything can happen. I'm looking forward to a really good match. Okay, Sexy and I Know It with the white pieces e4, knight e6. Now Mastertan is also generally well equipped with opening knowledge and known for creating novelties here. So we've got early d5 after knight c6. Now sometimes there's a gambit you can play with knight c3, but Sexy and I Know It just opting to cover d4. So e5 challenging the center. Alright, pawn at h6 played pretty quickly. Is this something that he knows? So knight takes h6, no good. Bishop takes g takes. Knight at f6 would win the queen. So the pawn is on h6. There's a gap here on g7. So what is bishop d2? It forces this, but now pawn at g7 looks natural. So black would be up a pawn, it would seem. Was there not some kind of follow-up with d takes e5 perhaps? I just thought it might be more interesting trying to gain a pawn in hand a little bit faster. So okay, I like black here. I think black's a pawn up, and white doesn't have clear compensation. Maybe a little bit of development. But okay. What would you do if you're Mastertan? I think he's considering knight f6 maybe. But queen e2 a safe option. So you've got to look out for this bishop here. This pawn is hanging currently. I'm leaning towards ed or e4. Now while I'm pondering that, just a reminder that the stream is up on a 3-minute time delay, and that's to respect the integrity of the match, given both players each start with 3 minutes time limit. It's enough time to ensure we're not leaking information to the players that's relevant, and also not too long such that it's still fairly recent and fairly live. So ED has been chosen here. I don't really see white gaining an edge with bishop takes f7. I mean, bishop takes f7, pawn at d5, you know, trying to undermine e5. So yeah, that's a good move. Sexy and I Know It's trying to trade knights to make this a threat. Now black could always get safe with something like pawn at e6, but it is a little bit passive. You could push a bit harder. Maybe queen at e7 is also an option. You might want to keep the queen in hand in case there's castles. Pawn at h3. So knight e5. So Mastertan just avoids the trade. Now I'm a bit concerned about queen at b5 check here, because you're hitting both. Now you could play knight at d7 or knight at c6, but against knight at d7, this bishop's getting blocked off from e6, so then pawn at e6 becomes a bit more annoying there. If a knight gets in here, it's sticky with hitting g7 and c7. So if you block again on knight with knight at c6, yeah, maybe pawn at d5. I just feel knight at d7 is a bit difficult. So knight at c6 played. I don't think he liked pawn at e6. Pawn at d5 you could play a6 against. Um, so I guess white kind of makes black look a bit silly after taking this, because you question what did knight e5 achieve. But at the same time, maybe black could claim, well, I made you use your queen out here, so you don't have your queen in hand. Bishop takes f7 doesn't hurt me as much now. So maybe knight takes c6 takes, knight at e5, putting a white knight here, hitting these two. That looks a bit uncomfortable. So yeah, not a huge fan of knight e5 here. I thought back here maybe black could play something where he just allows this capture, but then, you know, white doesn't have a huge amount to play for. Even something like queen at e7, which just puts all attacks on hold. So wow, what's going on here? Pawn at a6, this was taken. Bishop takes f7. Well, that looks like it can be taken. Knight takes, so the idea, if he loses a queen, he regains the knight with check. And I don't know if white has enough there. I feel like if black takes here, white's happy after queen takes c6. So you got to bite the bullet. You've got to take b5. Knight takes e7, king f8. What if knight at g6? No, he doesn't go for it. So he's opting for the maybe less risky choice. I just feel like white's only a pawn down here, but making some progress. Queen takes c7 looks natural. Why knight at e5? I thought bishop at d6 might have been better. No, knight at d6 is very dangerous. This is looking like mate. It's close. If it's not mate, I mean, queen takes c7, you got to take with the king. Queen at f7 takes the knight. Knight at e4. King c6. Pawn at d5. King b6. Pawn at c5. King a5. Queen c7 check. White's maybe just holding on. I think Sexy and I know is just taking a little bit of time here to see if he can calculate the correct move. Maybe it's queen at e8, yeah. And then pawn at d6. Yeah, pawn at c4. This looks very dangerous. That's much cleaner. He just picked up a knight with check. Yeah, you don't need to see mate here. Knight at b8, that's mating. Rook takes. Promote the knight again. King's blocked off from c6. Move up, pawn at c7. And that's a good finish too. But Master Tan, I mean, I felt he had a safe position, pawn up, and then he gave a little bit with moving the knight to e5 first, and then he gave a bit more, putting the knight back on e5, allowing queen takes c7. Alright, Barakia roll, OKZH. Welcome guys. Good to see you. Yeah, I think Master Tan should have got that one from the middle game, or at least a much better middle game than what he got. Okay, a3, new move. And you might be wondering, what does a3 do? What does h3 do? Okay, the purpose behind a3 would be against knight a5 to preserve this bishop on a2. Knight a5 is quite a common idea to hit this one. h3, obviously stopping bishop g4. So as black here, you're kind of saying, well, you've made these two moves, and you know, if white just gets all the time in the world, he just goes bishop e3, castles, and it's fine for white, you know. Knight a5 is just playing into his hand. This bishop remains useful, but the knight isn't useful. So knight d4 is correct. And I think what black should play for is c6 d5. So, you know, I mean, black's put pieces on all the right squares. From a principled approach, I feel like black should be okay then. I think maybe c6. And we'll see if he's got something like knight takes h7 planned. Sometimes a nasty trick in there. For example, knight takes h7, pawn at g6 is a bit awkward with these two pawns. So normally you take with a king, but then you could follow with like a pawn at g5. Now he's gone for this, but I feel as black, the rook and pawn for 2 pieces is a good trade. And black hasn't, made any, what I'd say, non-principled development moves. Everything makes sense so far. So I like black a little bit better. I think bishop at h5 is in order. Just cover f7, cover here. Even if pawn at g4, I wouldn't really consider taking it. I'd consider bishop g6. If pawn at g4 and then you take it with a knight, say, yeah, maybe you're okay taking it with a knight, but alright. He hasn't decided to do that. He's gone king back, which is quite sensible. There's takes. I don't think rook at h8 is anything. Takes, knight at f7, king g8, knight takes. Sure, white took the queen, but everything is reasonably covered at the back. I think black is okay having the rook and knight for the queen. So I don't mind this move, king g8. It's preempting some aggression. I also think because white's already played bishop e3, you're not as concerned about pawn at h6, because then white essentially had to spend an extra tempo to stop by here. And then, if castles, you can still play bishop at h5. Okay, so pawn placed on g5. Now this is a natural target for black. And that's kind of why I thought bishop at h5 was good, while you still had the chance to play it. Maybe he figured after bishop g6 then g5 anyway, and the king was still on f7. But okay then, what to do with black from here? So 98 threatening pawn. Now he could play h4 to cover it. He does indeed. So bishop at g4 makes sense here, I feel. If f3, you get some dark square weaknesses to hit. And if the queen moved, there'd be a knight at f3. So this is just a little bit of a jab to make a weakness here. Now maybe queen d2 is in order, and then trying to get a castle in. This one that doesn't make as much sense to me. This looks helpful for black. So I guess he's just covering up this, but it really makes the dark squares weaker overall. Black might even consider taking here at some point. There's no rush though. Knight at e3 causing problems. I don't like it for mastertan. So I feel like Sexy and I know it's a little bit faster out of the blocks here. Okay, chooses to concede the queen instead of the pawn. So it takes, I guess king takes. You'd have an option to take here maybe, but you're kind of opening this up. I just feel that if you played a3, h3 and you were looking for slow development, this is not the game you were looking for as white. Dark square weaknesses, a rook on h2. And now the material in favor of black as well. So bishop at e3. Unfortunately, can't defend with knight at c4 or knight at b3. And this is good, developing the queen. If like rook b1, queen at a2 just looks crushing. So knight at a4, but white's out of drops. Okay, threat is renewed on d2, knight's hanging. Sexy and I know it. He's got the move so far. Yeah, that's pretty plain. Just take all the pieces. So queen takes c2. That mates, takes pawn at b3, king back, and queen at c2 to finish. Alright, so far very clean from Sexy, and I know it. I think mastertan in game 1 had some chances to do a slow grind. Okay, so French taking on e4 and bishop d7 to c6. Solid option. This is nice, and it's also nice if a knight comes here. You're never concerned about the bishop being taken. It just develops your knight on b8. I quite like this setup for black. I don't play it much myself. I'm more often on the white side against this. But here, pawn at f6. Okay, he's covering f7. I just feel that gets in the way of this bishop. Pawn at f6. Or maybe there's some trade-off on f7, but I didn't see. Maybe there's some theory. Maybe it's knight takes e6, takes, and then you take this knight. But then you should be able to take that knight. Yeah, I don't know. Knight e5, I feel like pawn at f6 should be okay for black. Okay, pawn at b5. So disrupting this bishop. No, is queen b4 check something that we can make work? This is a nice move. I don't think queen b4 really goes anywhere. So there's two threats here. Say you play pawn at d5 to cut off queen b7, then white just goes in for the sack here. Takes, 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 and then he has the knight and the queen in hand. So that we might see that happen. I don't know if white has enough for mate. That's the only thing. After the king lands on f7, there's knight at e5 check. Probably king e8, and if queen at f7, then king d8, and maybe white doesn't quite have enough. The knight on b8 is covering from queen takes d7 mate. So we're going to see it. So you've got knight at g5 as well. Queen at e8. At least you can take e6. No, so here you decide e7 or e8. I just prefer e8 because I don't want to allow bishop g5 check. So king e8. Are there problems? Pawn at f7, king d8, bishop g5 check is logical. Now you got to be careful when you trade off another knight just to see if that's going to hurt you. Pawn at f7, king d8, knight takes d7 looks like a problem. Well, I mean queen at e8 is a mate threat, but you got bishop b4 check. I think black should block with the knight on f6. Now knight takes d7 is deadly. There's no bishop b4 check, which helps you cover the e8 mate. How does black respond to knight takes d7? This is a problem. That knight needed to be on f6 just to give you that breathing room. Then you could play bishop b4 if c3 takes, or if there's a block with a bishop you could recapture trade and then recapture at knight d7 because the rook covers here. So that, I think that's what Sexy and I know it was looking for, just a slight inaccuracy here. Now white's got an extra pawn. If you look at the material at this moment, if you defend with knight at d6, I mean even then knight takes f8, like this looks all bad for black. So I'm just finding that these two games mastertan has with black, he's probably got a few better options, and he's just been a little bit less accurate than Sexy, and I know it. So that's a bit of a shame for my compatriot. But it's not all. I mean, he could control a little bit more of this. Knight takes f8 is pretty hard to go past. Capture, but then he doesn't quite have it. I mean, knight at g8 just gets chased. Queen at e7, he takes the knight. Black's safe. So here, yeah, I think taking here, and maybe bishop at d7 is really nasty. Bishop at d7, just threatening queen at e8, and you can't take the bishop because a knight at c5. Here he's attacked d7 and e6, which also makes sense. Queen at c8, not really the move you want to play, but maybe you have to. And even BC pawn at d7, it's looking unfun for black. Doesn't really have any good resources to check with. So maybe, what, knight at b6, you gotta concede this. And with queen at d8's mate there anyway. You don't even have queen at e4 check, he's taken that. So this is a good move to knight at c5. Alright, so OKZH says mastertan always takes a while to warm up. Maybe that's the case. Yeah, okay. Wow. I think you take here, king d7 is forced. Then you've got options. You could even play like bishop at g4 here. Maybe bishop at h3. Queen at e4 is nothing to be concerned about, you can take it. But black's probably considering sacking a queen here. No. Alright, he's gonna cover that way, but yeah, this can't be good. That's game over. Well, that's free bishop, free knight, everything drops there. I'm feeling for mastertan, he needs a funny group. Bishop takes e7, knight takes, queen at d7. That's a nice finish. Open up this line. Okay, come on mastertan, you gotta make a score here, you're down 3-0. Alright. Warm-up games are over for mastertan. I'd like to see him just push aggressively, bishop c4, or this is fine, just not this a3, h3 stuff. Now, black's gotta be careful, there's a few opening tricks with bishop b5, which not immediately obvious. Against bishop e7, yeah, I don't mind the capture. Pick off this pawn. I don't know if knight takes e4, knight takes e4, queen d4 works. Just something I'm seeing here. The bishop at d4, pretty standard. Knight at d3, you could take here, but then you're helping white develop a bit. You regain your pawn, but white's not complaining. Castles make sense here. If you want, you can play pawn at f3 and hold on to the material, but then I think black plays bishop d6, he starts getting some development. Black's not going to complain about the knight on d3 blocking this pawn, blocking this bishop, blocking this rook. So bishop d6. So knight c4, I wonder if you can sack. Knight g4, queen h4. Doesn't quite work the same way as it does in chess because there's pieces to place. But what else? Pawn at f4 could be an option. It's just not where you want to put a pawn because your bishop's later blocked. You want that pawn on h6 if you can. So knight f3, that's quite sensible. Protects h2. I like this move. Now bishop g5 could make sense, but yeah, I wonder. Takes, probably not good for white, because bishop h2 and knight g4 coming in. This is also open. This move I don't like from black. Yeah, black gets the pawn back, but I feel like bishop g4 is just keeping a little bit more tension. You could play pawn at e2, but I think master 10 from a player style perspective, I think master 10 will be happy to see bishop takes c3. Yeah, I'm thinking master 10 could have the kind of position that he likes here, where he can get himself set up to grind. How you would go about it? Maybe the pawn belongs on e5, and then you rinse and repeat a bit. I think maybe Sexy, and I know it knows that a pawn's coming to e5 anyway, so you may as well be resourceful with that bishop. Yeah, f6. Okay. Pawn at h3 could be coming. So what do you do against that? You either play h3 or you try to do something a bit more dynamic. So knight f4 I like. So that stops pawn at h3, but maybe pawn at g6 is also an option. And every piece of white is defended. So yeah, there's pawn at g5, but I think you might be okay playing pawn at g6. There we go. So he's going to try to get a bit of action with the king. I think pawn at g5 is a okay decision. No, bishop at g5, the bishop at h5, allowing knight g5 check. Queen comes in. So knight g5 takes with the pawn, let's say queen h5, pawn at h6. You could hit with bishop at g6, king goes back, you hit the knight. So rook e1 played. Because the other thing was if knight g5 and he took with the knight, queen takes, pawn here, you start taking the knight. Like, I think white missed a bit of an opportunity there with knight g5 check. So this is good from Sexy to play bishop g4. It stops that idea. I would have more considered bishop at g4 back here, just because it's defended. This knight g5 idea just allows you to win a whole lot of things with check. So okay, knight at, yeah, this black can't really get in a knight here to hit f3 again, so he's trying to go through f5, and I think that makes sense. It also stops bishop at f5 check. Now yeah, this knight is sort of hanging, but rook takes. Okay, time getting critical here. Pawn at e3. What's the idea of that? Okay, knight at h4, but you can just take and play king h2 perhaps. e2. I think then you got bishop at d3 check, and you can take bishop takes e2. So I think master tan is definitely got Sexy on the rails in terms of the clock here. Queen e2 perhaps. Okay, hitting the bishop. I think pawn at g3 makes sense. Queen takes e3 could be playable as well. You gotta be careful. Takes the rook. If you recapture here, rook at g2 mates. Maybe pawn at g3. I say pawn and not bishop, because a bishop at g3 you can just take, rinse and repeat, take, rinse and repeat. If you put the pawn here, takes, you can't go bishop at e5 again, and because you'll eventually, black will have only pawns in hand, not a bishop. So I like pawn at g3 here. I don't like that mastertan's giving away his time advantage. I think that's really critical from a practical perspective. I figure he's looking at queen e3, queen f4, and it's too risky. There he goes, pawn at g3. He's come to decide on that. Bishop at g2 threatening f3. You want to counter punch. So I don't know. It's a bit early. This is still on. Queen takes. I think you got to play. You got to go, man. You've got to go. Bishop at f5. Okay, so he's stopping. Knight takes f3 check. Yeah, but this doesn't go anywhere. Bishop at g3 looks like mate. Takes. No, mate. Okay, he figured he had to defend g6, so mastertan's bluffed him into some material here, but let's just take a look at that. Bishop at g3 check. It didn't matter which way you took, the queen would go on f2. If king h2 here, if king g4, queen f3, queen h4, bishop at g3. What happened there? Queen at h7 checkmate. Wow. Okay, so mastertan gave Sexy some huge opportunity to win there, and Sexy didn't take it. That's just the time pressure, guys. But okay, he's won a game, so he's on the board. That's good for the match, right? I just felt yeah, a few missed opportunities. Got a suggestion. Vempele saying maybe knight g5 check king g6. Possibly, yes. I didn't see king g6. No, not sure. Let's just look at this. So I feel like knight f6 is too early here, but maybe mastertan knows something about d5. Okay, knight takes d5. Is angling for like a pawn at c2, but right. What is this? So bishop takes d5. Knight at d3 check. Looks okay for white. Knight f4. Hitting d5 and e2. What's the plan? Or is it bishop g4? Try to get white to put a pawn on f3 and then push your bishop to h3. So this is blocked off. Yeah, I think if mastertan had a continuation in mind early, he would have played it by now. You could play ED, just open up, you recapture a pawn. Okay, so queen takes, you take the knight. So a king takes, knight f4, you can take this bishop. That's quite reasonable. Pawn at e2 is not a bad move here. So he's taking with the queen. Well, knight takes c1. I mean, mastertan's really thrown in a bit of a novelty here. I don't think queen b5 check is worth much. I think you just block that one with bishop d7. So where are you gonna go? Maybe queen here, but then bishop at d3, king g1, take the knight. Knight at e2 is threatened. You can't recapture this knight. You might just recapture the bishop. Knight at e2, king f1. No, I mean, white's got so many moves with the queen. The other option that's interesting could be bishop takes f7, king takes f7, queen c4 check. with the fork. Bishop e6, you get rid of the problem on c1, and you get rid of problems with you losing your queen somewhere on this diagonal. Okay, so while Sexy has a bit of a think, you may notice at the bottom right of screen that way, I've got a target for $1,111. This is the Candidates Appreciation Fund. Yeah, the idea is that to celebrate 11 candidates, we've got a target like that. $345 has already been donated. I mean, some huge support from the fans. Basically, once each of the candidates completes their matches, then they're entitled to their share of this Candidates Appreciation Fund. And that's regardless of how many points they finish on. It's just some encouragement to play through all your games and fight hard right till the end. So let's go back to the game here. Queen takes c1. So this idea I mentioned, bishop f7, it was played. Queen fork made check here. I think white just didn't take you could take c7 first before taking c1. But you just allow black another move to develop. You know, maybe he can get a rook into the action, so it probably was helping a bit. Now, black is only down a pawn, no, maybe 2 pawns on material. So pawn at e2, I'm figuring he's just going to try to grab g2 and claim he's got lots of light square weaknesses to hit. So we'll see what he decides. I feel bishop takes e2, queen takes g2. And maybe it doesn't seem that direct, but it's just annoying. How do you address the light square weaknesses? You've got no... Oh, you've got a bishop at h5 check, but that's covered by bishop at g6. I think this makes sense. Queen takes g2. This is a good game. This is really interesting. Now what's queen g4 about? See, the problem that black has is there's not going to be a knockout blow here because white can just put a king on e1, and while you don't have a knight in hand, you can't hit that king on e1. Which is why I'm suggesting queen takes g2, because then at least you're threatening the rook. That's you know, a deterrent for white to bring the king back to the first rank, and then you can put something on d3 or f3 to try to push the king upwards. Here you don't have a threat on the back rank, so king e1 and white gains safety. You just have diag, so now knight at g5 is good for white because you get to undermine black squares. This one looks like it's going to be Sexy's. Is there some kind of knight at d5, knight at f5? You want to be careful as well. You don't want to put a knight in the hand of black. So knight c3, he's progressing slowly. Pawn at f6, knight at d5 looks like a problem. Yeah, this is tough. The queen's covering here, but knight at d3 check. I mean, you're probably going knight at f5. He's probably looking to see if he can do better, but knight at e3, king f1. This is probably okay as well. You've got a queen defending c2, so you're not going to have too many problems. But I just felt there, like, instead of queen g4, it was definitely queen takes g2. Ooh. Alright. Mastertan. Knight at f7, mates here. Yeah, I feel for Mastertan. I feel like he got a nice opening there. He probably threw Sexy off a little bit with that opening. I mean, I wouldn't have seen it coming with white either. And queen takes g2 would have just asked more questions. I think that's quite a nice motif to understand that with that white king being safe on e1, anything short of queen takes g2 is probably not what you want to do. Okay, d5. This is new theory, and I think Sexy will know this quite well. We've got Vempele in the chat as well. He probably knows this very well. I kind of know one or two bits and pieces, but whenever I see this, I feel like someone's throwing something theoretical at me. Idea being, black gets nice development. This is usually some kind of trick. Pawn at h3, knight at f3. And here you can take and put another pawn here. You know, black got his pawn back, essentially. d5. I'm not sure what that should be taken with. If I think e takes d is okay. Against pawn at h3. This seems okay. So what's pawn at g3? Okay. I feel like that's like a very Oppawesen kind of move. The idea behind pawn at g3 is say like hg, like black on a good day wants to put a pawn on h2. I don't know if you can sack something here. Doesn't seem tight though. I feel like pawn at g3 is a bluff that should be called. Maybe even you play fg. Okay, but this looks fine. Fine for white. Knight at f5, looking for the rook to put on f1. Where to put the queen? Or do you just take the bishop and allow black to take the queen? I don't really like it as much as I give away queens fairly easily. He's done it though. I mean, bishop at a4 would cover c2, and then bishop e3 is a natural development move to try to castle and put your king on a square where you got lots of stuff on your queen side. Bishop e3. That's what I'm expecting. White's got a few pawns as well, so I mean, yeah, I don't mind rook takes h3. Black gave up a pawn on d5, a pawn on g2, a pawn on g3, a bishop on h3. Yep. All right, mastertan needs to make a score here. He's down 4-1. So as black here, you've got the queen, right? But I mean, check here, knight at f1. It doesn't really help. Queen at g2, rook g3. You've got this knight. That's the only piece forward, but you probably got to go back. If you go back, then castles. Okay, so he didn't want to go back. He wants to play pawn on g2. So knight at f1. Pawn at g2, that's the idea. No, how do you defend that? You can castle and just concede that you're going to lose a knight there. I don't like king d2, so it's got to be knight at f1 here. Pawn at g2, you could defend with another knight, but then, yeah, this guy falls as well. I think you got a castle here. And against a capture, you don't have to recapture. d1 is so well defended. I mean, it's not what white's hoping for. I think knight takes c2 is quite resourceful. If you played knight f5, then white gets the castle and he's pretty happy. This still gives black some potential with the two queens on the back rank. But mastertan should just play practical. Oh, okay. Here, I didn't like this one as much. Knight takes f1, cd, and the pawn at g2 threat is renewed. This is maybe even better. It denies white the opportunity to castle, and then this is now falling. So before there was maybe a trick where, you know, you had a knight at c7 resource. But now, yeah, bishop should go back to d3, then d4. Like, black's got play here. White's got nothing on the king. Sexy, I know it's just playing a nice principled approach today. It's really solid. But yeah, I thought maybe pawn at g2 or pawn at g3. These are kind of bluffs. Maybe like fg could really take another piece. So bishop b4. I kind of preferred cb, just picking up material there. This doesn't really get you knight at e4 because of this move, and then white got to retreat from b5. But alright, he's seen better than me. So he's got queen takes f1. You have to go to c1 here. This is mated. Gotta go to c1. Queen takes f1. Bishop on. Knight takes e3. And yeah, mastertan's just left it there. Wow, sexy, up 5-1. Sexy, and I know it. Putting in a good series here. So he's already guaranteed half a point, and he's got 4 chances here to come away with the full point for the match. I think mastertan's also just playing one of his first few matches, so he's probably also warming up in the event too. Alright, this is a bit of a new development. This is very theoretical. Bishop h4, probably good for white, but this is a new move I've seen a few players make, and it does avoid some of the theoretical traps. But let's see what Sexy knows in this position. So knight at f5, that's nice. So you're saying you've got a weakness here. There's a weakness here. You've just moved your bishop to g4. I'm going to put a knight on f5 to just make you bring your bishop back, and then you've wasted 2 moves to help my pawn get to f5. That's essentially what the principle is here. Knight at f4, so that's a good square for the knight. Now black ends up being very solid actually on dark squares, despite having it disrupted. You can't get another piece on to hit f6 here. This is a nice knight, so yeah, rook g8 could be coming at some stage. I mean, you got to look out for bishop f7, but there's always d5. I kind of like black here. This king h8 move, allows the rook to get to g8. So this disruption on g takes f6 doesn't look so bad for black. If white had a knight to play knight at g4, he could maybe cause some more disruption, but black's got a break with d5 too. Okay, so he's looking for that knight. Pardon me, I would actually consider knight at e2 check here. King h1, d5. I say that because I want to keep this knight on f4. It's such a good asset. I don't want white to have a knight to put here with ease. So knight at e2. Yes, this is quite strategic. King h1, d5. Cuts off knight at e4 as well, aside from knocking the bishop around. And because you keep a knight on f4, it also limits the h5 option. So g4 is the only square left, and then you start thinking about rook g8 as well. So bishop e3, rook g8, you've just made 3 moves which really consolidate your light square entry points for white. e4, g4, h5 for this f6 pawn. And at the same time your rook is getting aggressive, the knight is aggressive. So the knight and rook play two roles there. You know, you're kind of saying to white, well, you've pushed a pawn there on the side, I can get this one in. So, yeah, I mean, and white has nothing to gain by letting that bishop drop. So exactly this. The bishop's gone to b5, probably more useful in b5 than b3 because maybe this trade is worth something. Bishop takes c6, b takes c6, knight at b7, hitting these two, because then if queen e7, you take the bishop, takes, and the f6 pawn falls. So it's if takes, knight at b7. I think black's got to start considering if he can play some kind of sack here. That's where it'll get critical. This is another good game. I'm expecting BC, but what is mastertan thinking? Knight at b7. That's the move. Could even consider bishop e7, knight takes d8, rook takes d8, holds the f6 pawn. Black loses the queen, but keeps the initiative because white only has the queen in hand, and where's he going to put it? Maybe you'd call that a John Lee queen sacrifice. I've heard that term thrown around. Now this looks like a positional kind of queen sacrifice, but I mean, okay, black's got to take that, surely. And then what? Knight at h5? No, knight takes e5. Okay, mastertan returns. Now he doesn't quite have mate. It looks close. Queen at g1, knight takes g3, f takes would be knight at f2 mate. But unfortunately, queen at g1, and white can take this way, so you don't get your nice mate on f2. Yeah, I mean, mastertan played that pretty quickly. If takes, you have to play hg. Okay. So maybe he's threatening rook takes g3 here. But yeah, white can defend against that. Hold on a tick. Was bishop f6 dangerous at all? Bishop here, knight at g6. Takes, knight f7, takes. Takes on e5. Okay, bishop at f3 played. Looking for some tricks with bishop g2 perhaps. So if queen takes h5, bishop takes g2, takes, knight f4 check, the king has to go to f3. Is there a mate there? Knight at d2 would be mate. If the king went back, that was sneaky. Yeah, mastertan was trying something sneaky there. Just taking g3. I think fg to defend f3. No, he's taking with the queen. Maybe he has to take here and cover the bishop at f4. Good move. Oh, time. Mate in one. Do it. Whoa. No, mastertan pulled out a few nice moves at the end there. Though I think Sexy got into some time trouble. Well done, mastertan. He's down 5-1, but look, he'd still be fighting for 5-all. That's still a result. Yeah, king h8, and he did well in the middle game. I liked how he was progressing. But I felt Sexy could have gone knight at b7 instead of queen takes e2. Okay. So we've gone a little bit unorthodox. b3 e3, and this is playable. This is fine. White's putting everything into dark squares. Knight g3, bishop g6, h4, push. Okay, he's gone in with h5, and then bishop's back to e4. I like white here. Just this line, this knight's in the right place, this is in the right place, they're both hitting e4. At some stage maybe bishop d3 comes out. Like this is a pretty classical 12-teen style attack, I would say. I've seen him play this kind of setup. Yeah, now you might want to cash in something here. So knight takes e4, takes, maybe even knight takes f7, rook takes, pawn at g6, maybe a bit ambitious, maybe bishop at g6. It's not quite there. White doesn't quite have enough. I was nearly thinking taking with this knight, so you just get out of the way of this problem. After takes here, well, you might even just do something like bishop at d4, just keep the battery. Oh gosh, big yawn. Because I just didn't mind sitting on this g6 potential. You don't have to be decisive right away. You can just sit on bishop at d4, and then when you're ready you play d3 yourself, you get some trades, the pawn goes on g6. White has the kingside space. Okay, so he's gone for some sack here, and then he's looking at e6. I think black's got enough resource to hold it together, that's all. So yeah, that was an idea. Knight takes bishop at d4, maybe bishop at c3, or you could even just play d3 immediately. Look to put some pressure, to put on some trades. If the queens open up, it might be good. Pawn at g6 then hits. Okay. So master 10, what you gonna do from here? Whoa, alright, he's sacking a bit more. Has he got pawn at e5? What's the move? Maybe it's pawn at e5. Or maybe he was trying to make something work with this diagonal. Sorry guys, the yawns keep coming up. It's 11 PM. Maybe I'm getting too old, need to sleep. If bishop at f5, pawn at f7 is a problem. This is a nice move. I think the knight should come to c5 to cover this one. You want to keep this knight here. Yeah, I'm definitely not yawning because the games are boring. I mean, they're interesting games. Just to be absolutely clear. Yeah, knight d5, good move. Now white can still apply pressure. I actually like knight at f5 here, and that's quite sneaky. It's threatening knight takes h6 check, g takes h6, pawn at h7 mate. But he's just gone straight for the jugular here. He's looking for rook at g8. This is also very strong. Wow. Master 10. He's found some resources here. He's got a bishop, he's got a queen, and he's just made his way with two pawns. Now rook at g8 is a problem. You can't take this one. Queen g6, king h8, rook at h7 mate. So knight at f6, because you need another one, because you could get taken. But then you've got knight at g6 check, takes, knight f8. But then the knight captures f8, so it defends g6. So this is maybe just holding, but it's sharp. Maybe there's a rook at g8 problem though. Takes, because you, oh well, that's mate in one. Whoa, what? Okay, knight g8 takes. I mean, you're probably dropping the queen there as well. Wow, master 10 just broke through on the light squares with that queen g4 idea. That was impressive. And Master Tan's actually written an article somewhere, I'm sure, about light and dark color complexes. That's kind of one way that he likes to see the game, and he just executed something very nicely there. Double piece sack and then queen g4. Maybe black had some defense, but it really made it difficult. This is interesting. d6. I don't know if he meant to go d5. It looks deliberate to go d6. As white, I like to take the space here on d5. It just stops black's mobility a bit. So I feel like white's already better here. But black's compact. Black is well defended. You can castle. If knight at h5 ever happens, you can play pawn at g6. You can build slowly out of here. White's just got space and is up a piece for a pawn. So I think Master Tan's just angling for stuff that's definitely not theory. And you can see how much slower Sexy goes. This is not playing the position. This is playing the man. It's a term we use in poker, where you're not about the cards you hold, the cards they hold. It's about knowing what your opponent's actually doing and playing specifically to that. Now he's just won 2 games, so he's got a bit of confidence. He's just thrown a piece for a pawn here in the opening just to make it unfamiliar, and he's burnt hardly any time, and Sexy has lost a bit. So that's just strategically what I think is going on here. Now the game itself is a different issue. I mean, as black, you don't want to give too many trades too fast, because white can get pawn at h6. Right, so f5, being resourceful. This bishop might come out. I like f5. I mean, you might say, well, why block your own bishop? But in this position, black has kind of a lot going on the dark squares, and f5 just balances it. And again, like, I feel that's like an intuitive move from Master Tan on his ways of thinking with color complexes. He's just gone, well, this bishop needs to come out more than this bishop does. I just want to balance my light and dark square coverage. You could play f4, but I feel like controlling the e4 square is not bad either. Okay, so he's gained some space. Pawn at g4 kind of runs into knight d4. Yeah, you've got knight e5, but then knight at f5. I don't know if pawn at g4 is the required move here. You could even settle for like pawn at e5. I mean, probably not. I don't mind this move. This is good too. Like if you look at the opening, black's just so passive. Like straight from here, he's gone. Okay, I don't even have the d5 square. Sexy, and I know what I think makes the right choice here, and then he's just slow after that because this is an unfamiliar opening. And then Master Tan's just doing a few maneuvers, getting a few free tempi here, and he's kind of getting development. He's just pushing some space. This is just not necessarily best moves out of the opening. It's just throwing your opponent off theory. And I feel like Sexy, and I know it, is well equipped there, and Master Tan has had the presence of mind to sense this during the series, and is deliberately throwing out some weird stuff in the opening, hoping for a chance to outplay in unfamiliar territory. Okay, knight at e5, bishop h4. So I think you want to make white put another piece there. I would have preferred if you put the knight on e5. You can save this spot for h4, look at pawn at e3. Maybe he's just thinking pawn at g4 and hitting g2. That's also good. Yeah, black's making progress here. This is better from Master Tan. It's not perfect play from move 1 by any means, but it's practical play. Time management better. He's playing the man a bit more than the position. I think in pressure situations, that's a good good decision. Knight takes c3 would pressure the queen to take, and Sexy didn't even think about it. He said, doesn't matter what you take with. I don't want to move my queen around and kind of get sandwiched in. So mastertan's balanced the material already. Now, what's critical here, though, is white's got some very good defense around the king. 2 bishops, okay? Pawn at d4, I think, makes sense. You're not going to win on light squares. There's so many pieces defending light squares. That guy is the key. You want to hit him. You want to win pieces. So pawn at d4 makes sense to me here. Knight at e4 also a good move. You want to try to hit this one, but also cover some dark squares. So what's he gonna do here? I feel like pawn at d4 is right. Takes, but then knight e4, queen e5. Yeah, why not pawn at d4? So yeah, if mastertan overthinks this, that's where he's gonna get in trouble. I think he needs to maintain a time advantage. Now here bishop takes c3, knight takes c3, queen at g2, and how do you defend the rook and the bishop? Queen at g2. Let's just straight take it. You've got rook f1. You've got I thought maybe knight at e3 was weakening dark squares, but it's probably not good enough. Maybe queen at g2 is not good enough. Rook f1 must be played. How can he get active here? I'm going to leave it to mastertan to figure that out. Come on, you can't give that time advantage away, buddy. Alright, he settles for a pawn. That's okay. That's okay. A pawn at e3, if he can hold on to all the material, it's going to be okay. Knight at f5. Pawn at e3. Come on, you've got to go. He's alright at the back. It's the clock that's going to kill him. No, he's going to get his bishop trapped potentially. Sorry, queen trapped, I mean. Oh. Yep. You could take f1. No, he's going to try to save the queen. Knight f5 is still trapping the queen. This wins it by force. Okay, now white's happy. He's got the material back. Sad for mastertan. I felt like he's turning the key. So he's still fighting here. Knight e4 doesn't come in so easily because the queen takes b2. Takes, pawn takes. He's got to sack the queen when knight f5 goes. But okay, look, mastertan knows how to play a good 1 minute game. He's going to be alright in tight time. He's putting some pressure on the clock again on Sexy. Sexy's got the edge. Whoa, pawn at f2. Whoa, okay. Nah, there was mate there, I think, but not clear cut. Wow, mastertan fighting with a bit of risk here. Okay, he's defending against queen at g7. Knight takes. Knight takes. He'd have a queen in hand. So pawn's been captured. He's still holding on to g7. I thought maybe there was a queen at h6 sack earlier on, but I don't know if it worked. Maybe the king could have run out this way when I was thinking. But this is good for white. Sad. That's it. Queen at g8. Rook at h6. Sexy, and I know it. He wins. 6 games to 3. mastertan, he was playing the man there, and Sexy, and I know it, sacked his queen just for a bit more mobility, and mastertan couldn't get the potential out there. Queen at g2 maybe wasn't as strong as maybe he anticipated, and maybe also what I anticipated. Electric Masada just subscribed. Thanks for the tier 1 sub. A sub for 6 months in a row now. I really appreciate the support. And Electric Masada, also one of the donators, he's put in a $50 donation. We had John Lee Yasser Fan Club donate $100. We had Mugwort Crazyhouse donate $50. My good friend Mugwort. Yeah, some big donations there. Lee Kai in the Sky was $45, I believe. I should actually make a leaderboard with some of the top donations. Yeah, we've got to put a bit more effort into this stream page on Twitch. I'm a bit too focused on work, and yeah, we need to balance time spent at work and time spent on life activities. So okay, f5, looking for queen takes h4, saying how are you going to defend that knight? If you put the knight on g5, can you play h6? So mastertan parts with the knight straight away, but then black's happy. Black's recovered the piece for the pawn. He's got space. So pawn at h6, that's fair enough. White gets a little bit of a hit on the king. Yeah, dynamically I call this equal. So from here both players have a game. And it's a dead rubber, but every point should be fought for. Okay, so white's got a few dark square weaknesses. I think pawn at g7 is okay here. You just say, well, I gotta do something about dark squares and I'm gonna fight with a king. Sure, you get hit with knight at h5 check. You can pull that back. This is one of those decisions, pawn at g7, where you've got to be quite clear on saying, well, yes, it's bringing my king forward, but does white really have enough to follow through here? Because what you really want is a knight on f5, and that's taken up by the bishop. If white gets a castle, then you're looking at knight takes d5 issues, where knight at f6 is a problem. If castles and you've got to take here, well, I don't like this move. It looks good because it hits there, but castles and knight takes d5, that's bad news. I think Sexy has just missed it. I've just been talking about it. This pawn is worth nothing when knight at f6 is hitting you. So maybe pawn at g7 now. He's gone for pawn at e7. But all the same, like, you can still play rook b1 here if you're white. That's pretty safe. Going for the rook. So mastertan's going in for something. It's just a shame he kind of took the first 3 games to get out of the blocks. Sexy and I know it just had 3 clean wins at the beginning, and I felt the games after that got a lot tighter. Someone made a comment, I think it was OKZH, said that mastertan always takes a while to warm up. Maybe that's fair enough. Okay. Low on time again, Sexy. Yeah, I mean, let's not forget Sexy was up something like 5-1, right? So if mastertan can pull it back to 6-4, that's quite respectable. It's just unfortunate that it looked like he was down and out before he got going. So bishop at e5 maybe? No, he's just happy to take pieces. So he's up a cold rook here. So Sexy don't know it, gonna be looking to press an attack with the initiative he has, but I think white's got enough to cover. Knight at f4, you might even consider queen b5. No, he's gone here. This one you could just let black capture. Yep, I think that's right. You want to play on the dark squares here as black, and you want to start penetrating here, because you're not going to win on the light squares. Okay, knight at f4, queen e3. The bishop's going to be annoying. You might even consider knight at f6 check here. Takes, takes. You lose the queen, but you put a pawn on g7. Look at the clocks. Oh, master 10. Bit too little, too late. So, Sexy I know it's still very safe here. Master 10's got a full army of pieces. But bishop at e1. I think Master 10 will be good enough to defend this. Just hold. You don't need to make trades. Okay, rook at e2 is just looking to put things near White's king. How do you attack efficiently here? Knight at f6. Yeah, you could have the queen hit. Alright, he's saying I've got enough to mate you now. I think he's right. Pawn at g7, pawn at h6, pawn at g5. So there you have it. 6-4, Sexy and I know it. Much closer finish than what we saw. Like, it just felt very one way for Sexy and I know it, didn't it? But Master 10 actually just pulls back to 6-4. Congratulations to Sexy. He did really well in the first 3 games, just very clean. I think Master 10 missed a few opportunities there. This is the candidates. This is tight. That's how these games are going to go. If you're not 100% on your game, you know your opponent's going to be good enough and going to be dangerous enough to exploit those. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I really enjoyed those matches. They were very good. Let's take a look at the schedule. We'll see what's coming up next. There's been a lot of matches going on. I think a lot of matches just got agreed to. What's going on next? Juanet versus 12 Teen. That'd be a fun match. When is that happening? That's happening 11 p.m. Let's bring it on the screen. Link is here. I'll paste it in the chat. This is also on my John Lee profile on leechess.org. If you want either of the links, you've got the candidates calendar here and also the candidates cross table, the results so far. Go and check it out. This is a calendar. So 11 p.m. London time, Juanet versus 12 Teen. What does that work out to? That'll be 10 hours from now, the starting time. So you're looking at 8 a.m. 8 a.m. Maybe. My daughter will be awake by then. Generally I gotta wake up quite early. So then you've got Master 10 versus GSVC occurring a little bit after that. That'll be a good match too. There's so many good matches. 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Blitz Bullet GSVC. Yeah, that one's like a, what, 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. start. No, 3 p.m. London time might not be so bad for me. Let's see. 3 p.m. is a midnight start. That's a maybe. Blitz Bullet versus GSVC. But yeah, I do need to catch up on some sleep. I shouldn't be committing to too many of these. I am trying to get them when I can. That's a maybe. Blitz Bullet versus GSVC. Might try to cover that. Alright, you've got Juanet versus Clearcast coming up, and Oppelwesen versus Master 10. How are we going on the standings? Let's just look at that, and then I will leave you all to your weekends. Cross table. Here we go. Oppelwesen, so impressive. 6 out of 6. Wins against Jay Killer and 12 Teen already. 6-4. These are two big names. Historical names for Crazyhouse. Now Jay Killer kind of underperformed. He's only on half out of 3. Um, I think he's also very busy with life at the moment. 12-teen doing very well, 4.5 out of 6. Only dropped the game to Oppelwezen. He drew with GSVC, and GSVC has also been on fire. Look at him, he's on 5.5 out of 7. He's had quite a few 6-4s. He's been Clearcast, Juanet, Sexy, and Plotkin with 6-4. Took down J Killer 8-2. Amazing result. Drew 12-teen. He's only lost to Oppelwezen. So look, this could still be a tournament. I mean, any of these guys are dangerous. Blitz Bullet, mastertan, Sexy. Have a feeling last year in the final round before candidates, Blitz Bullet actually defeated Oppelwezen just very closely. Oppelwezen got back in through I think it was Chicken Crossroad with Drew, and Oppelwezen won an arena, which which meant that he went through and he finished 3rd in the candidates. So Blitz Bullet has beaten Oppelwezen last year, I believe. Mastertan, Sexy, I mean, both dangerous players. You've just seen them on display there. So, Oppelwezen's still looking great, but GSV's actually converted 5.5 out of 7. Something has to be said for games that have been won already, not just how many have been won out of the number you've played. And of course 12-10 on 4.5 out of 6. So if Oppelwezen was just to drop one game, that could put some pressure on, because then the others would only be half a point behind. That could be quite tight. Now we've just got Blitz Bullet and mastertan starting up here. There's still a name missing from this candidate sheet, and that's Fumitox, and I'd love Fumitox still to play. His name's not here yet, but I'm hopeful we can still get him to play. There's 11 candidates in my mind. The target is $1,111. It's still early because Blitz Bullet and mastertan have not had many matches. Okay, let's call a night. Okay, people are saying bottom right, you can change the time zone. Cool. Bottom right, I can change the time zone. How good is that? Show all time zones. So good to have a stream. Like, people just tell you stuff. I didn't know that, guys. Thanks. Like, I'm just every time opening up Google, going, what's the time now? And then what's the difference? And then trying to recalculate. Okay. Tomorrow, 5 a.m. Yeah, maybe I'll play in the Crazyhouse Arena. I'm not sure if I'll be able to stream 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. I think I'll have to save that for family time. But I'll probably go for the midnight match, Blitz Bullet versus GSVC. I'll stay up a little bit later and still get up to go to work for Monday. That one's not too bad. Maybe see me for the Crazyhouse Arena. Let's just have a look at what that is, and then I think I've spoken enough on the stream. Where am I going to find tournaments? Where are you? I don't see the Elite Crazyhouse Arena. Am I missing it there? Where is the Elite Crazyhouse Arena? I don't know. Has it been registered? Elite Crazyhouse Arena. There it is. Elite Crazy. It's 3+0 this week. It looks like. All right. Belly sign, the finisher. Starting in 5:34. Well, I can get to sleep now and catch that. Okay, I'm gonna make a commitment, guys. Work has just been flat out. I need to escape from reality a bit. 5 a.m. arena sounds good to me. It's 3+0 the time limit. That's good for berserking a bit. Good for playing. You know, I think the time advantage is a big deal when you're playing up against a field that's strong. Veli signed the finisher already in. Great chance for a whole lot of strong players to play some Crazy House. Get into this week's Elite Crazy House Arena if you're watching. Let's make it a good one. Let's make it fun. I will stream it, the whole thing, in 5.5 hours. I'm going to sign off there. I'm going to leave it at that. Well done to Sexion, I know, today for his result. Interesting matches. And thanks everyone for joining. I'm going to go to sleep. Okay. Take care. Good night, everyone. We'll see you soon. 5.5 hours.